that elevates us. And that's what the basis is. Like in the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna is giving the same thing. So the book that we are currently reading, we all know which book is this? Elevation to Krishna Consciousness. So let me start by displaying that on the screen.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Manohar.
I just joined, so did I miss anything?
No, we're just getting started. And I told that we are reading this book when we are on the 5th chapter, and we are doing page number 74 in the book or 83 on the electronic PDF. Okay, thanks for joining, Manohar. Okay, so a quick recap from what what we've done. So let's go back to the index of this book, which shows the content. So if you all remember the first chapter, so this book, Elevation to Krishna Consciousness, has 6 chapters, and we are currently reading the 5th chapter. We're almost there, wrapping up the 5th chapter. And in first 5 chapters, what we have learned so far, choosing human and animal lives. So Prabhupada was teaching us about, giving us the fact that it is very rare to have the human body, first of all. Then it is on even more rare is getting to the process of Krishna consciousness, getting Krishna consciousness, of coming across the a pure devotee who can, just like Srila Prabhupada, right? Who is extending himself. He's done so much to write these books to enlighten us and go back, and elevate ourselves, and in order to go back to Krishna. So in such a rare opportunity, having a human body, if we do the same things as animals do, what are those 4 things? Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Then there is no difference between an animal and a human. So even though we may have a human body, we are still in the consciousness of the same like an animal. So first chapter was totally focused on that, solely showing us how to elevate, teaching us about, enlightening us about elevating ourselves, importance of elevating. Otherwise, we'll just be like an animals. The second one, hard struggles for happiness. We are, all trying to be happy. And what are we trying to do? We put our endeavors, we do things, but then at the end, if it is just the material things that we are, we think that that's the happiness, then it's all the hard struggle, because just in matter of time, all that will be taken away. Then we moved on to learn about, living in harmony, living a simple life, focusing on our Krishna consciousness, and, making our way back, putting efforts and doing sadhana for purification of our own, for elevation of our soul. And the how do we live? We live peacefully in a harmonious way, with harmony with all living beings, animals, and we strive for something that is. Thank you, Mata. I'll do it. We strive for going back to Godhead. Then in the next chapter, knowing Krishna as he is. So what do we do to go back to Godhead? We need to know Krishna, right? So knowing Krishna as he is. So most of that chapter was from the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna is saying, how he's in every aspect of this universe, even in this material world. If we try to see if we have that, eyes to see, which comes with the mercy of the Guru, we get enlightened, we understand that Krishna is present everywhere around us. So knowing Krishna, and then knowing Krishna's energy. That's what we are reading now. In knowing Krishna's energy, Krishna is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. We need to know who Radharani is. We learned about Srimati Radharani. We learned about the Maya Devi, who is also a devotee and a servant in a service of the Lord, and serving the Lord in trying to make things in such a way that devotee or a person understands or feels it as a struggle. So she's the one who gives us those struggles. She's the doorkeeper kind of in the material, between the material world and the spiritual world. So being a devotee of the Lord, she also, her intentions are that, with those struggles that we get, we understand that we are, not comfortable here or not, permanent here. That is few of the things that we learned. In knowing Krishna's energy, we also learned Krishna's abode, which is the spiritual world. That is the Sat energy of the Lord. So we'll continue reading into chapter 5th. We are on page 83 on the PDF. Okay, and in the book it is page 74. So we'll start reading from here. The leader, like boatmen, are all illusioned. This misled us into taking some temporary benefit, but how long can their plans and schemes go on if they persist until they die of the heart failure or are killed by the Asians? Then another just like them takes their place. Even the so-called philosophers or modern society are captivated by the material name and the fame, and so they do not lead the general populace in the proper direction. Thus, the anchor of the life remain deeply fixed in the water of nuisance for the purpose of sense gratification, and thus our so-called civilization rots into the stagnant pool. So, do you all remember that analogy that we read last time? That there was a boat, and then there were people in the boat, and then they were rowing the boat, right? And what happens in rowing that boat? They rowed all night very hard, but what happened? They had forgot to untie the boat from the shore, so it kept, it kept moving just around in the same place. Although the rower was going like, it is moving, but the boat actually did not move even a little bit ahead. So, and then when the morning came, they understood that in the entire night they were in illusion that the boat was moving. Similarly, what's happening with us currently. We are in illusion. We think that we are moving in our lives. We are achieving things. We are getting, what we need and what makes us happy. But actually, we are just at the same place, because in matter of time, all this that we have achieved, all this we think that makes us happy, it will all be taken away, and then we will be at the same place as we started just before taking this human body. Based on the consciousness, we might even more degrade if we don't take to Krishna consciousness, right? So that analogy Prabhupada is explaining here, that like the boatmen, if they are in illusion, the leaders who lead the society, if they are misled, if they mislead, then we might be just getting some temporary benefits, but at the matter of time, it will all be taken away. So what is Prabhupada saying here? Thus, the anchor of the life remains deeply fixed in the waters of nuisance for the purpose of sense gratification, and thus so-called civilization rottens into the stagnant pool. So Prabhupada is explaining how we are in the same situation if we are not taking to Krishna consciousness. Because we are not moving, we are always in the same port of the problematic life. Is that correct? Because say if our problems are solved in this life, but at the end, will our old age go away? Will we be able to avoid death? No, we have to give up this body and move on. Who is there? Have we seen a single person living here forever, more than like 100 years or 200 years, 300 years? No, we have this body temporarily. So the problematic situation of having this life, birth, old age, disease, and death, this cannot be avoided. So because we are not moving into our, elevating ourselves into our, journey back to spiritual world or back to our eternal position, then we are in the same port of the problematic life. Because again, we will have another life, again, same problems, right? All the schemes are only useless scrap of paper in the face of war, famine, earthquake, and other disasters. All these disasters are warning from the Mother Durga. So Mother Durga, we learned, right? She's Maya Devi. She is the...
Mataji, you make it so small. Can you make it big?
Yes. Let me make it big. Okay. So this is much better, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All these disasters are warning from Mother Durga, and by them she confirms her eternal superiority over the illusioned plan makers. The different weights on the anchor which keeps us grounded in the material life are our attachments. So what is that rope that binds us here? That's the attachments that we have to the things. We don't want to let go. We don't want to, give up those, and we are attached to those things. Maybe things, our houses, our properties, our assets, our family. There's no harm in loving the family, but we have to understand that everybody is a spirit soul, and they are part and parcel of Krishna. And we have to serve, and we have to assist and help each other going back to Godhead. But if we just think, oh no, they're mine, then we are, we create those bonds and attachments which keeps us into this material life. Okay, who would like to read a little bit? Swastika, okay, let's have you read. From here you will read the different weights on the anchor.
The different weights on the anchor which keeps us grounded in material life are our attachments to the material body due to our ignorance of spiritual facts, our attachment to kinsmen due to bodily relations, our attachment to our land of birth and our material possessions, our attachment to material science, and our attachment to religious forms and rituals without knowing their true purpose. All these anchor the boat of the human body in the material universe.
Very nice.
Can Govinda read?
Yes, Govinda, you go ahead.
So Krishna using the example of the strongly rooted banana tree and wins us in the Bhagavad Gita how to get rid of the achievement once and
for all. Okay, you can skip the Sanskrit part. Go ahead and read the English, Govinda. The real form.
The real form of this tree cannot be perceived in this world. No one can understand where it ends, where it begins, or where its foundation is. This banana tree must be cut out in determination by the weapon of detachment. Thereafter, one must seek the situation from which, having gone, one never comes back. One must surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead, from whom everything is began
and is extended
since the
time immemorial.
Bhagavad Gita 15.34.
Thank you, Govinda. So here, who is giving the solution? Lord Krishna is giving the solution. How we should detach ourselves? We should have the strong determination. We should, by the Guru's mercy, we understand our position. We understand that, we are temporary. We have this temporary body. And if we don't make use, if we don't elevate, then we'd have to keep coming back. But thereafter, one must seek the situation from which one has gone, and one never comes back. One must surrender to that Supreme Personality of Godhead. We must take shelter from our Guru. We must understand. We must surrender to the Lord. And what do you mean by surrender to the Lord? Is it like we have any weapons and we keep it down and we surrender? What does it mean by surrender to the Lord? That means we follow the instructions, we elevate ourselves, we don't do anything wrong, we follow the path of righteousness. That is what it means by surrender to the Lord. Because who is the enemy? Who is the enemy here? The mind is the enemy.
The mind.
Yes, and he keeps us pulling into doing something wrong just to gratify our senses. But we should not surrender to the mind. In fact, we should, surrender to the Lord. That means we follow the instructions. That's what it means by surrender to the Lord. And from whom everything has begun, we understand his eternal position and extend since the time immemorial. We understand he's eternal. He's Sat, Chit, and Ananda.
Can I
Okay.
read now?
Yes, go ahead, Manohar.
Okay.
The personality. Yeah.
The personality of Godhead, who is fully cognizant of everything in his creation, informs us in our best interest that we must desire to get rid of this material existence. We must desire to get rid of this material existence. We must detach ourselves from everything material to make the best use of a bad bargain. Our material existence should be 100% spiritualized by constant association with Krishna's message, his devotees, and his name. Therefore, everyone who ordinarily engages in material affairs can derive the highest benefit from this Krishna consciousness movement. All kinds of spiritual endeavors are more or less tinged with material contamination. However, pure devotional service is transcendental to all pollution. We need not artificially adopt principles of materialism. We need only fix our minds on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, the Personality of Godhead, Shri Krishna.
Jai. Thank you, Manohar. So here finally, Prabhupada is making us aware, or giving us the final instruction, which is pure devotional service is transcendental to all population. We need not artificially adopt the principles of materialism. We need to fix our minds on the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And what will that do? That will elevate us, that will bring us slowly from the mode of ignorance or illusion into, the mode of goodness, slowly, gradually, and then we transcend even that. So just by following the instructions, just by engaging in the pure devotional service of the Lord, we finally, we achieve that goal of elevation, and we go back to Godhead. Very nice. Thank you. So we finished our chapter 5th. Now we will get into right away chapter 6th, which is taking to Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada in this chapter is going to elaborate on devotional service. What does it what is the final thing that we learned in the last paragraph about taking to Krishna consciousness with what? Devotional service. So Prabhupada is going to elaborate on that, taking to Krishna consciousness. And let's see. Okay, so obviously we won't be able to finish the entire chapter, but we will at least get started and see where we can get to. Okay, I'll read a little bit and then we all will take turns. In India, all scriptures and great spiritual teachers, including Shankaracharya, an impersonalist, accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord. In the beginning of his commentary in Bhagavad Gita, Shankaracharya says that Narayan is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested creation. And in the same commentary, he says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, is Krishna, appearing as the son of Devaki and Vasudev. Thus, in this respect, there is a little difference of the opinion about Krishna. Those who are authorities, be they personalities or impersonalists, are in agreement that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. So we learned, right? Knowing Krishna as he is, then we learned about Krishna's energy. And now here, and to begin with this taking into Krishna consciousness, first we understand that Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So all the authorities, they have all agreed. There are different philosophies that different people follow, but everybody have agreed to that Shri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When Krishna was present on this planet, he proved by his activities and opulence that he is the Supreme Lord. If we are actually anxious to understand who and what the Supreme Lord is, all of the information is given in the Vedic literature. If we utilize whatever we have in our possession to understand God, Krishna will prove that he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If we but accept this one fact, then all of our education is complete. It is the fashionable to research to try to find out who is God, but this is not necessary. God is present and he himself says, what is this shloka? This is from Bhagavad Gita. Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchit asti dhananjaya mahi sarvam idam proktam sutra mani gana iva. So, what is it saying? Sutra means he's the thread, and how thread holds all the pearls or all the beads together to form the necklace. Similarly, Krishna is a thread who's holding all this universe together, and everything rests upon him. And he is the tying force of all that is. And so he's saying, this is from chapter 7, text 7, O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung in the thread, on the thread. Okay, so knowing Krishna, knowing his position and his personality as a Supreme Lord of the entire universe. Everything comes from him. Okay. Jyotsna, you would like to read a little bit? This information is from the top here.
Okay. This information is not only given in Bhagavad Gita but in other scriptures as well, and it has been accepted from the very beginning by great acharyas, teachers like Sankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Madhavacharya, Lord Chaitanya, and many other stalwart authorities. Even at the present moment, those who do not accept Krishna as the Supreme Lord are accepting the knowledge given by Krishna to Arjuna. So, in this way, they are accepting Krishna indirectly. If one accepts Bhagavad Gita as a great book of knowledge, he is also accepting Krishna. There is no doubt that the Supreme Absolute Truth is Krishna, and that we have our eternal relationship with Him. Our eternal relationship with God is Sabhajana. God is great, and we are subordinate. He is the predominator, and we are the predominated. The duty of the subordinate is to please the predominator. Similarly, if we want to be happy, we must learn how to make Krishna happy. This is the process of Krishna consciousness. But how is it to be understood that the Supreme Lord is satisfied by our service and labor? It is actually possible to prefer our service or occupational duty. Everyone has some service to perform according to his designations. He may be Indian or American, Hindu, Muslim, or Christian, man, woman, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, or whatever. In any case, he is meant to do some sort of work, and that work is his occupational duty.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Jyotsna.
Govinda,
So, yeah. So let's just elaborate a little bit before we go further. Govinda. Krishna's understanding is Krishna's the Supreme Lord, right? Then who are we? We are subordinates to him. And what is our duty? So it's like a hand, right? Hand and a body. We've learned that analogy. If hand says that, oh, I'm working, I'm cooking, I'm going to work, I'm bringing the grocery, I'm cutting the vegetables, and making the dinner prasad ready and everything, and I am not going to give this food to anybody else. I'm going to keep this food to myself. Is that going to nourish the hand? No. He says, why should I give the food to the stomach? So as we are subordinates, it is our duty to love Krishna, and Krishna in return, he loves us so much, unconditional, that every soul, everywhere that exists, no matter where, Krishna is just sitting right beside, near his heart, where the soul is. He would never leave us alone. He's providing for everything that we need. Where is this vegetables coming from? Where is the rain coming from? Where is the sunlight coming from? And doesn't Krishna says, I am the light in the sun, I am the taste in the water. So he's serving us unconditionally. What is our duty? If Lord, being a Supreme Lord, he's serving us unconditionally, he's doing everything for us, for our existence. Isn't our duty also to love him unconditionally? So that's what it is saying. Whether it doesn't matter if we are American, Indian, Hindu, Muslim, doesn't matter. We are still souls who are emanating from the Supreme Lord. In any case, he's meant to do some sort of work, and that work is his occupational duty. Very nice. Thank you, Jyotsna. Okay, go ahead, Manohar. Perfection. Sorry, go ahead, Govinda. Perfection of duty.
Perfection of duty can be tested by seeing whether the Supreme Lord is satisfied by the execution. The Supreme Lord's satisfaction can be tasted by the Lord's representative master. Therefore, it is important to seek
out the real representation
of Lord person. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and work under him in the sanctified, then we would
know
know that the Supreme Lord is also sanctified. That is explained in the Vishnavananta
Chakravarti.
Chakravati Thakur.
Yes, very nice. Yasya prasadat bhagavat prasado yasya prasadanna gatay kutapi dhyayam stuyam tuvam tasya yastrisandhyam vande guru shri charanaravindam. So this is the Mangalarti prayer that we say in the morning. And what is the meaning? By the mercy of spiritual master, one is benedicted by the mercy of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, no one can make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. 3 sandhyam, 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful obeisances onto the lotus feet of the spiritual master. So, how we get the mercy of the Lord? By by following the instructions, by satisfying our spiritual master. And in that way, how does he get satisfied? What do we do? He gets satisfied. Would he get satisfied if we just go out in the cinemas and do what not we have to do, eat whatever we want to eat? Would he get satisfied? No. He gets satisfied by things that we do that will elevate us, that are good for us. Because he gives his entire life. Prabhupada, if you have heard the story of Prabhupada, how he was, all life in trying to make person, trying to convert them into devotees, and finally, with his all that hard endeavors that he was doing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu empowered him to bring this Krishna consciousness to the West, where people had no understanding who Lord Krishna is, who Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is. And then he made, he changed their hearts, and they transformed into pure devotees from whatever things that they were doing. And then finally, understanding, that spiritual master is there to help us, to guide us, to take us back to Krishna. So we should offer our respectful obeisances at least 3 times a day, but whenever we can in our hearts, always. Okay. The spiritual master is the representative of the Supreme Lord. How does he become the representative? If one says that such and such an object is pair of spectacles, and if he teaches his disciples in that way, there is no mistake as to the identity of the object. The spiritual master is he who, captured by the words of the particular disciplic succession. In the case given, the key word is spectacles. That's all. The spiritual master does not have to say anything beyond that. This is his qualification. So here Prabhupada is elaborating on who is the spiritual master, who is a bona fide, who comes in a disciplic succession. He gets all his instructions as it is from his guru, which he passes down, and then his guru gets the instructions from his guru, and then straight that chain goes back to Lord Krishna himself. So one who carries the message as it is, he does not, adulterate anything in the message for his own benefit. He is the authorized, or he is the bona fide representative of the Lord, because he's carrying the message as it is. That's why we read Bhagavad Gita as it is, which was translated by Srila Prabhupada. Okay, let's continue. Who would like to read a little bit?
Can I?
Yes, go ahead, Megha.
Krishna says, I am the Supreme, and the spiritual master says, Krishna is the Supreme. It is not that to be a representative of Krishna or to be a spiritual master, one has to have an extraordinary qualification. He simply has to carry the message from the authority as it is without any personal interpretation. As soon as there is some personal interpretation, the message is lost and the instructions become offensive. A person who interprets the scriptures according to his whims should be immediately rejected.
Yeah, very nice, Mehika. Can you keep reading? Once Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said,
Okay, Mataji. Once Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you must at least have enough sense to test to find out who is a spiritual master and who is not. For instance, if we want to purchase something, we must at least have some idea of what that thing is, otherwise we will be cheated. If we want to purchase a mango from the market, we must at least know what type of food a mango is and what it looks like. Similarly, we must have some preliminary knowledge of the qualifications for a bona fide spiritual master. Bhagavad Gita itself gives some information about the succession of spiritual masters. Lord Shri Krishna says, Imam vivashvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivashvan manave praha manor ikshva kave bravit evam parampara praptam mimam rajarsayo vidu sakaleneha mahata yoga nashta parantapa sa evaya mayatedya yoga prokta puratana bhakto sime sakhacheti rahasyam hetadutta.
very nice. Thank you, Mehika. So what are these verses saying? About the disciplic succession, about the bona fide spiritual master. It comes in the parampara system, that is disciplic succession, that is called the chain. But the thing is, the message has not to be adulterated. It should be given as it is. When, once Prabhupada said, devotees were saying, Prabhupada, you did so much. He said, no, the only credit that I can take for whatever I have done is that I did not change the message. I gave the message as it is. He said that I'm like a postman. I brought the message. What happens if the postman comes to our house and, whatever letter we have got from wherever, and he opens that letter and he writes something else on that, or he changes, or, he uses the ink and whitener and he changes the words and, write over it and then packs it and gives it. What happens? As soon as there is some adulteration in the message, then it is not the authorized letter, or it will not do any good to us, because the intention of that message now has changed. So Prabhupada gave that, whatever he has translated, he said, I have kept the message as it is that he has received from his guru. And his guru received from his guru. So the chain goes back directly to Lord Krishna, who is our true well-wisher. Krishna says, I am Surit. Surit, I am the true well-wisher. And in these 3 verses, Krishna is saying that I gave this science of yoga to sun god Vivaswan. And Vivaswan instructed it to Manu, the father of mankind. And then Manu in turn instructed to Ichvaku. This supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood in that way. But in the course of time, the succession was broken, and therefore the science, as it appears to be, was lost. That very ancient science of relationship with the Supreme Lord is told by me to you. Who is saying this? Lord Krishna is saying this to Arjuna. And he's saying, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, therefore you can understand this transcendental mystery of the science. So what is that message? That message is that we are part and parcel of the Lord. We have the eternal relationship. Nobody can change that. Maybe when we give up these bodies, our relationship all will change. We will have different sets of parents. We'll have a different mother, different father, different brothers, different friends, different sisters, different everything. But will the fact ever change that Lord is our eternal Father? We are the part and parcel of the Lord. That will never change, because we are soul which is permanent. This body that we have to give up one day. This body, we have relationships currently that are all connected to this body because of this, having this body. So those may change, but our eternal relationship to the Lord will never change. This is the mystery of the science. And this original message, Prabhupada translated, everything has given us, brought to us.
Can I read next?
Yes.
That ordained spiritual disciple succession was broken, but now we can receive the same message by studying Bhagavad Gita. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna speaks to Arjuna just as in a fair distance time we spoke to the sun god. If we expect the words of Arjuna and Krishna, it may be possible for us to understand Bhagavad Gita. But if we want to interpret it in our own way, the results will be nonsense. The best way to understand Bhagavad Gita is to accept the bona fide spiritual master. This is not very difficult.
Very nice. Thank you, Govinda. So understanding the message as it is. And that's what Prabhupada has kept in the message in all his books, even the book that we are currently reading. Every book, he has kept the message as it is, just like what Krishna has given in Bhagavad Gita. And over the period of time, this message was broken. So Krishna comes again and again to revive. And when he speaks Bhagavad Gita, it's forever. It's nothing changes. The fact it doesn't change that we are the part and parcel of the Lord. The fact that Lord Shri Krishna is the supreme, that doesn't change. So over the period of time, if we understand that, then we understand our position. Arjuna says that he accepts all that Krishna said to him because Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Nasto manmoha smritam labdva tatvat prasadan mayachyuta stitosmi gata sandeha karishe vachanam tava. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, I am, O infallible one, my illusion is all now gone. I have regained my memory, but by your mercy, and now I am fixed without any doubt, prepared to act according to your instructions." That's what the final chapter, the final thing of Arjuna, conclusion of, the conversation that Arjuna says that my illusion is gone and I'm not ready to follow your instruction. As Arjuna, we should accept Shri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and do so, he says. Yat karosi, yat asnasi, yat jahoshi, dadasi, yat tapasyasi kaunteya, tat kurusva madarpanam. O son of... Yes, go ahead, Govinda, read the translation.
O son of Kunti, all the way, do all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well the austerities that you may perform should be done as
An
an
offering.
offering unto me. Bhagavad Gita 9.27. By accepting Krishna in the spirit, we can attain complete knowledge with. However, we do not accept Krishna and interpret Bhagavad Gita in our own way, then everything will be spoiled. If we are sincere, we will get a sincere spiritual master by the grace of Krishna.
If we, however,
However, we want
to be cheated,
Krishna will send us to the cheater, and we will be the cheater throughout
our lives.
That is actually going on for those who don't know, not want to understand Krishna as we is, but want to understand by the dint of their own imperfection vision. Krishna God remains unknown.
Very nice. So, based on what we seek, we Krishna sends us his representative in that way. If we want to be cheated, Krishna will allow that to happen. If we want to seek pure love of God, if we want, then Krishna will send us a pure devotee. It really depends on what we want. The whole process is to accept Krishna and his instruction, and therefore to render the devotional service unto him. It is Srimati Radharani who is very embodiment of the perfect devotional service. In the Brahma Samhita, Radharani is described as Krishna's expansion of his spiritual potency. In this way, she is non-different from Krishna. The gopis who tend Radha and Krishna are not ordinary women or girls. They are expansions of Krishna's pleasure potency. Radharani and the gopis should never be accepted as ordinary women. Indeed, to understand their position, we need the guidance of the spiritual master. If we living entities want actual association with Shri Radharani, then that may be possible. Although she is not an ordinary woman, we can become associates of Radharani by qualifying ourselves in advanced devotional service.
And Govinda read.
Can Manohar read?
Yeah, Govinda, let's give chance to Manohar, and then we'll come back to you, Govinda. In the devotional service.
Okay. In devotional service, there's no frustration. Even if we perform only a small amount, it will grow. Devotional service is never lost. As far as material things are concerned, whatever we gain in the world will be lost when the body is finished. But since we are eternal, spiritual sparks, our spiritual effects go with us, gradually fructifying. In this way, those who have spoken or
Cultivated.
previously cultivated transcendental consciousness come in contact with Krishna consciousness through this movement.
Very nice. Keep reading, Manohar. Interest in Krishna consciousness.
Okay. Interest in Krishna consciousness is not commonplace. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said that out of many millions and billions of persons, only one is interested in achieving perfection. If we can ad-
Advertise.
advertise that simply by reading this book and meditating for 15 minutes, anyone who can immediately get power, becomes successful in business, and passes ex- ex-
Examination.
examination, many people would be attracted to the book. People are not attracted to Krishna consciousness because they prefer to be cheated by Maya. They think that the perfection of life is in eating a great supply of food or in sleeping 24 night or every day. People are interested in these things, but not in the perfection of life.
Yes. So here, Prabhupada is explaining, if we think that we get happiness by these things that, drive our senses or gratifying, then it is, people are not interested in these things, but that's not the perfection of life. The perfection of life is in achieving our eternal position. Prabhupada was explaining in a little earlier verse here that how Srimati Radharani is the part, the potency of Lord Krishna himself. And then all the gopis that who serve the Lord are also non-different from, they are also the pleasure potency of the Lord, expansions of Srimati Radharani. In that way, simply by following in their footsteps, by following in the instructions laid by, the 6 Goswamis are all associates of the gopis in the spiritual world. They are all manjaris. They are assisting the gopis, and gopis are assisting Srimati Radharani, and Srimati Radharani is serving Lord Krishna. So, but just by following in their footsteps, we come to the perfection of life. Otherwise, we will be just cheated by Maya Devi. Okay, so just let's finish this one paragraph very quickly because we have just 3 minutes and then we will end here. Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Every intelligent man should at least experiment with Krishna consciousness. He should say, all right, I've been enjoying this eating and sleeping for so many lives. These things were available for me to enjoy in my bird and animal bodies. Now, in this life, let me restrict the 4 principles of animalistic life: eating, sleeping, defending, and mating, and let me devote my time to developing Krishna consciousness. In this way, my life will be successful. It is not that we have coined this term Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is the oldest phrase in the history of world. Manmana bhava mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame veshyasi sat te pratijane priyosime.
Very nice. Let's read the translation. Manmana bhava madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame vaisyasi yuktaivam atmanam matparayana. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. The result is that you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Engage your minds always in thinking of me. Engage your body in my service and surrender unto me. Completely absorbed in me, surely you will come to me. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki jai.
Yeah.
Chapter 1865 and chapter 934. Okay, so I think we'll stop here. We'll continue from here, page 93 on the PDF, and we'll continue into finishing this chapter next week. Okay. Would anybody would like to share anything little bit quickly, very quickly, like in another 1 minute? Okay. Manhar, you have your hand raised. Go ahead.
So I want to share that what I learned was that Bhagavad Gita was instructed from Vivishwan to Manu, and from Manu the chain was going on, but
Right.
then suddenly the chain broke. Then Krishna told it to Arjuna because he is Krishna's very dear friend.
And Krishna's devotee. Similarly, if we follow in the same instruction of a spiritual master, we also get the message as it is, as Arjuna got. Prabhupada has, translated the message as it is in Bhagavad Gita. And then we also will be eligible, or we will also be elevated to go back to Krishna and purify ourselves and go back to the eternal life. Very nice. Thank you, Manha. That's the basis. Do you see? That's the basis of everything. That, our baby, the basis of our spiritual life, our journey back to Him. Very nice. Okay, so we'll end here. Let's say our pranam mantras at the end. Pranams to all the devotees, and then we will end. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripasindhubhya eva cha Vaishnavyo Nanta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.